Welcome to the Monday Monologue. Well, today it's time for a little bitch session. I've been kind of depressed about where this channel is going and the controversy that it seems to be creating and the animosity that some people are feeling about some of the content that I've put out in the last month or two. And most of it really started with this R300. And I know there's a bunch of, high-profile influencer types that are just saying these are the amp of the year, best sounding amplifier they've ever heard, etc. And for me to come in and then go, what are they talking about? And, it's not a bad sounding amp. I'm not going to say, that it sounds horrible. It sounds much better than like that A50 did out of the box. But it's nothing to write home about either. And maybe for people that are new to tube gear, that this, really pushes some buttons that they've never heard before. But the more concerning thing to me is the design problems that I'm seeing in the power supply. And the real frustrating thing to me is the lack of information that the manufacturer seems to be willing to put out. And they gave me one schematic after seeing my videos, and before that they wouldn't let anybody see what these things are wired like. But they seemed to understand what I was talking about my concerns, and so they sent me a schematic of the latest version. But they didn't tell me that there was two previous versions that had the power supply wired even differently. And they started out with one design, they changed to another one, then they changed the power board, then they added this delay board, and then some of them have resistors in the power supply, some of them have no resistors, some have one diode, some have two diodes, some of them have the 330 UF cap wired directly to the rectifier tube, which is insanity to hook that big a capacitor up to a tube rectifier. Now you can do that to a solid state rectifier, but you cannot do that with a tube rectifier and not expect the tubes to blow up. And I've got people emailing me saying, yeah, my amp's 5 pairs of rectifier tubes, but then I ask for some advice on Audio Karma, and I get two different people that just eat me alive, making personal insults, saying that I'm an idiot and hundreds of people are using these amps with no problems, and I'm just trying to make trouble to get views for my channel. Guys, I got better things to do than try to piss off people, get a manufacturer mad at me, to try to get, some views on YouTube that I make a couple $100 a month on at best? Come on, guys, I got better things to do with my life than that. I'm trying to share information with people, and I'm just showing you what I found and what I know is best practices. And what I'm seeing in these things don't meet the data sheets for the tubes that they're using. People are absolutely having problems. The manufacturer has changed the design of the power supply on this amp at least 3 times trying to fix this problem because they're getting amps sent back to them with tubes blown up. The real problem is people that try to save some money by not buying it off Amazon, because if you buy it off Amazon, you plug it in and the tubes go spark, poof, and it blows the fuse. You just put it back in the box and send a thing to Amazon saying, come pick this thing up. But when you buy it off one of those AliExpress or China Hi-Fi or one of those sites, it's going to cost you $300 or $400, $500 to ship it back to them. And that's on your dime. And they expect you to ship it to one of their repair stations on your dime. So it's going to cost you hundreds of dollars to send it off, and then it's still probably not going to be fixed from what I've seen. And so what I really don't understand is why some of these people go after me for pointing out these problems and make excuses for this manufacturer. I mean, do they work for them? Or did they just buy one of these things and they don't understand what's being discussed and are just pissed off that they spent $1,500 on something that's got design problems? I don't know. And then there was one poster on Audio Karma that got so hostile to me, he ended up getting a permanent ban over the abusive stuff that he was saying to me related to this. And there's 2 or 3 people that probably should have. So now when I have more problems or find other things that, that we could collectively as a DIY community try to figure out, I'm hesitant to even make a post on any of these forums anymore because these people are so nasty and rude whenever you question some product that they've purchased. So now I feel like I'm on my own again trying to figure this stuff out. And, I'll figure it out. Some of it may take some trial and error, but I guess I just don't understand why people have to be so hostile, ugly, mean, just rude about something that's just some resistors and capacitors and vacuum tubes. Why does that bring out this in people? I don't know if there is an answer to that. It just may be, the world we live in and, the way the internet is with people are basically anonymous. Yeah. So anyway, you can probably tell I'm pretty frustrated. I hadn't seen much content from me this week. I've been working on some personal projects, got my new turntable. I've been playing around with different phono cartridges and playing with different alignments. And going to do a future video soon about turntable setup because I've learned a lot this week with, what different needles sound like in the same cartridge. I did, bought some various needles for the cartridge it came with to try that out. There's definitely a difference in needle quality. Plus, how it's set up makes a huge difference. And I'm not sure that the out-of-the-box setup that Techniques has for their turntables sounds the best, especially if you like bass response like I do. So we're going to do that. Also realize that I've never sat down and done like speaker evaluations on some of the speakers I've featured on the channel, especially the DIY ones I built and what they sounded like after they got broken in, what my clip speaker sounded like after I did the capacitor mod to them, which is now settled down and can report on that. Plus I have another pair of DIY speakers from GR Research that I built and comparing those to like the same price point, just little clips out of the box speakers. And so we're going to do a video on that soon. And I do want to get diving back into my KT120 build. I know people are sending me emails and questions, and the people that made the transformers are asking me, what's the transformer specs? Because people are wanting to buy the iron and like build these things. And it's not completely finalized yet, guys. I mean, I think the iron's going to stay the same, but there's probably going to be some tweaks to the internals and some of the biasing points, and maybe even the driver tubes used. I'm still going to use some that will drop in to that same pinout, but we may be using a different pair of driver tubes. But again, the driver tubes I'm using are so cheap, but nobody's going to cry if they have to buy some, EF 180s instead of some 6EJ7s or whatever. We're talking about cheap tubes that nobody really buys. So anyway, yeah, just kind of been a frustrating week for me. And try not to let it get to me. I know people say just, ignore these trolls. You're doing a good thing. But it does get old when I get up in the morning and I come down and open my inbox and there's a bunch of really nasty emails from people, basically hate mail over a freaking tube amplifier, people. It's like, and I guess the other frustrating thing is I feel like there's a handful of people that know they don't have the ability or they don't want to go inside the amplifier trying to prove me wrong so that they can enjoy their defective purchase without believing that there's anything wrong with it. And guys, if you're one of those folks, just put whatever tubes you want to put in it. Pretend like there's nothing wrong. Pretend like I'm an idiot and just leave me alone. And just go on with your life. I don't need your self-validation or whatever it is you're trying to do. Just ignore me. You don't have to send hate mail or ugly emails or put nasty posts on forums trying to belittle what I'm doing here, because I'm just trying to help people out. So, anyway, I do hope you guys are enjoying my content. I do need to stop and think about how much more of these made in China amplifier rebuild, re-engineer projects that I want to do going forward. I've got some people that are wanting me to work on, what is it, an 800 something Wilsonton amp that's got 1,000 volts inside it with these giant 300 B tubes driving some other giant transmitter tubes or something. And I'm just not sure I won't even get into that, because now we're talking about a much more expensive amp, and that's just going to piss off even more people if I find issues with it, which I have no doubt there is. We'll just have to see going forward, what I get into. I do know I've got at least a half a dozen other cool DIY projects, and I feel like there's plenty of people that are watching my channel that enjoy the DIY build content. I know people are building some of my projects and enjoying them, and to me, that's a lot more of an enjoyment to me, to know that there's people out there building things that I've designed and they're really enjoying it, than that she fixed some made in China amp and made it sound decent. So, anyway, again, if you're enjoying my content, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. And I guess we'll see you for the next Monday Monologue.